Hi, my name is Phil Liu. I'm the program chair at PNSQC this year, and I happen to be at Star East, and we're in Orlando, and I ran into Tariq King, who is one of our keynote speakers in October. And so I had a chance to talk to Tariq, and Tariq, what do you think, what are some of the cool vendors that you're running into at this year's show, and is there anything new that you see?
Yeah, so I'm starting to see that there's a lot of, excuse my voice, I lost my voice. A lot of new vendors that are kind of using artificial intelligence and machine learning in their products. There's Apply tools, there's Test.ai, and this is still a very emerging field, so it's still very new and kind of exciting. But some of them are doing some cool things and learning to, recognize an application, visualize its state, and kind of apply test cases and use data in a lot of different ways. So those are mostly new vendors that I'm seeing.
So there's a lot of vendors that talk about using AI versus really using AI, and I'm wondering, how can we filter through the marketing speak versus stuff that's really real and has potential?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one to tell you the honest truth, Phil. For me, I usually do like an informal mental model of each vendor that I come in contact with. So I'll say, well, what are their claims? If their claims are such that we give 100% coverage, or they give something that's kind of overstating things, I treat that as marketing. But if they have reasonable claims, like, hey, we try to improve this process, or we're trying to do this, and then they're kind of knowledgeable about artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Right.
So you kind of have to just see through some of the marketing and make sure, like, hey, we know that 100% coverage is something that is just a myth, right?
Sure.
I mean, you have an infinite number of possibilities. How can you get to 100%?
Right.
But if they start to make some more realistic claims and start to show you a running demo, something that's operational, then it kind of becomes real.
Okay. Now that kind of ties into your keynote. I know you're doing a keynote for us at the conference in October about AI. I can't remember the specific title, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about your talk.
Yeah, the title is really "Can Artificial Intelligence Terminate Manual Testing?" And it's purposefully dramatic because
that is dramatic.
Yeah, we get Hollywood telling us that artificial intelligence is going to take over and that there's so much and that we should be fearful of, and there's some truth to that, right? Like, if we don't get involved as a testing community and learn how to validate these systems, then we won't know what they're doing, and there's a potential risk in giving it more responsibility and not validating that responsibility. But we can leverage artificial intelligence in a number of ways, and one of the key aspects of the talk is to kind of show that there's almost a direct relationship between artificial intelligence and testing, right? Like, we have this black box, and as testers, we throw inputs at it and we validate outputs, right?
Right.
And the process of machine learning is almost just that. Like, there's this box that we don't know much about, and we send in data points, inputs, and then outputs come out. And the point of training it is to say, yes, this is good, or no, this is not good. And so there's this correlation, and I kind of just walk people through the relationship between testing and artificial intelligence, and challenge us to kind of step back and question the things that we normally say are impossible. Like, let's drop impossible and realize that this technology is here and that we can leverage it to make testing better. Another key thing in there is this concept of self-driving cars, right? And it's huge right now, of course. Like, there's a lot of risk involved, but there's an element of, you're going on a journey from point A to some destination. You have a goal, and there's a lot of different steps along the way. There's limits or boundaries that you can't cross, your speed limits and so on and so forth. And if you start to think about testing, we're on the same journey, right? There's a goal that each test has, and there's limits and there's risks that you run into, and how do you identify those risks and make choices at those points. And so there's really a lot of correlations that I just want people to start thinking about.
Wow, that's exciting. Now, I know that you're also giving a workshop, and can you tell us a little about the workshop and what the attendees can really get out of it to take home and use at work?
Yeah, so the workshop is about, it's called Unit Testing, What Every Tester and Developer Should Know. And that's really geared around the fact that, we've been seeing more and more companies start to talk about a no-tester approach. And it sounds like, what do you mean no testers? And But really, they're trying to start to blur the lines between tester and developer. And really and truly, as any good engineering discipline, we don't really separate those two roles in other disciplines, civil engineering, mechanical engineering. You build a product, you're also responsible for making sure that it is well constructed.
Right.
And so really and truly, like the idea, and there's other themes like shift left and a lot of things that kind of tell us that we should really be doing more collaboration. And so the tutorial is really for anyone who has a testing mindset or a development mindset, and it's really geared out for the testers. Here's some things that you can do to become more technical. Here's how you understand things like code reviews and what's going on in there, and how you can contribute. And if you're a developer, here's like some of your biases, right? And here's how to overcome those biases. And I think that it's really good for either role because you have to start to appreciate the value of these different perspectives. And no one is right or wrong. I write a lot of articles, I write a lot of books, so do you, but every time we proofread our own stuff, there's still some sort of issue.
That's true.
And so we get these biases creeping in.
Right.
And it doesn't make you a bad proofreader, and it doesn't make developers bad developers, but you need different perspectives to build a quality product.
That's true. Can you proofread some of my stuff for me?
Anytime.
Okay. One other thing, I know I talked recently to the director of QA for Ultimate Software, which I thought you were the director of QA, and then he said, "Well, Tariq is doing this now," and so I'm wondering, tell us about your new role at Ultimate Software and what you're doing.
So I'm kind of moving into this role as a senior director / engineering fellow, and what that is that I have a layer of directors who are going to run the day-to-day operations.
Right.
But really, for me, I'm trying to step into more of a role where I lead the research and development team around quality engineering. We're doing a lot of work on using artificial intelligence and machine learning to test software. We're also just making sure that we can disseminate like our practices and standards across the organization as a whole and kind of pull everything in. And then one last interesting piece is just really trying to understand like the cost of quality. Like there's a cost associated with good quality and a cost associated with poor quality.
Right.
And I want to be able to provide tools and information to all parts of the organization that really help us to make wise business decisions. Right. Like is it a wise business decision to test as much as you can, even though the cost of finding that next defect is really outweighing like the value of finding it, right? Like so. Even quality is kind of this trade-off.
Sure.
And so we just need to kind of bring awareness to that. So that's the new role.
One more question, use up your time, Tariq, is that you were previously director of QA. So obviously in your organization you have a separate organization for QA. So that's kind of a little bit different than the way some organizations are moving and combining everything all together. Right? So why do you guys do that, and where do you see things going?
Yeah, well, our setup is kind of like a hybrid model. So even though we have a separate QA organization, every team still has quality engineers embedded on the teams, right? What we did is that we said we want to form a very thin, centralized quality program that is responsible for being the center of excellence, to have the standards, have the practices, do some research and some innovation. And we want to be able to kind of disseminate that across. And so the quality engineers and quality directors that are part of the core organization take direction from the program, but they actually report into the engineering managers over those. So it's kind of like this hybrid model where we're kind of looking at, well, we think that we understand the need to make quality part of everyone's job, and that means you have to have the resources. And so recently we actually moved all the performance engineers over into those individual teams and just left like the key architects over in the program. Pretty exciting.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Tariq, and I look forward to seeing you in October.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.